Hi, everybody. Welcome to the digital edition of Overdrive. I'm Sohini, Dutt. Now, let me remind you that our comment sections are now open. You can send in all our questions. Just through the show, we are going to be catching up with the co-founder as well as the CEO of Ather Energy, Tarun Mehta. So you can send us your questions. Earlier this year, they did launch the 450X scooter as well. So any questions, feel free to use the comment section. Now, let's start off the show with another electric offering. Audi has a very ambitious plan. They want to introduce 20 electric models by 2025, and now they have just introduced the 7th electric offering. It's not in its production ready, guys, as yet. It is the Q4 Sportback e-tron, which is in its concept form. Here's all you need to know about it.
Audi wants to have 20 electric models in its portfolio by 2025. In Audi speak, the electrified vehicles wear the e-tron badge, and its first fully electric car is simply called the Audi e-tron, a naming philosophy similar to the first all-wheel drive Audi, the Quattro. With its size and footprint, the e-tron could have easily qualified as a Q6, sitting between the Q5 and the Q7 SUVs. And on similar lines, Audi showcased the Q4 e-tron concept at the 2019 Geneva Motor Show as an all-electric SUV that will sit above the Q3. While the e-tron and the Q4 nicely plug the gaps between Audi's SUV portfolio, then there's the Sportback range that is being developed in parallel. Audi recently showcased the e-tron Sportback, and close on the heels of that comes the Q4 Sportback e-tron concept. It draws heavily from the original Q4, but wears a coupe SUV silhouette with a heavily raked roofline from the B-pillar onwards. The lighting elements follow the key e-tron signatures, while the pronounced haunches are an ode to the Quattro lineage. The Sportsback's cabin is another interpretation of the newest Audi design themes. The upper section is finished in microfiber textiles, while the flooring uses recycled materials. There's no chrome in here. Instead, surfaces are covered with high-quality multi-layer paint finish. There's also plexiglass paneling across the dash and other sections to allow for a unique depth effect. The squared-off steering wheel houses capacitive touch buttons, while there's also a color heads-up display. The virtual cockpit instrument cluster gets new graphics, while the central touchscreen is Volkswagen's newest MIB3 interface. The coupe version of the Q4 e-tron has the same running gear as the SUV concept, which means it gets the same MEB underpinnings with an 82 kWh battery pack that powers 2 electric motors, one on each axle. This gives the Q4 Quattro all-wheel drive capabilities. The rear motor makes 204 PS and 310 Nm, while the one at the front puts out 102 PS and 150 Nm for a total system output of 306 PS. This allows the Sportback to go from 0 to 100 km an hour in 6.3 seconds, while the top speed is restricted to 180 km an hour. The Q4 also boasts of a 50-50 weight distribution. In practice, the Q4 only uses the rear motor in regular conditions, while the front motor is only summoned when there is extra power requirement or when slip is detected. This, combined with the low drag coefficient of 0.26, gives the Q4 Sportback e-tron a claimed range of 450 km with all-wheel drive or up to 500 km in a rear-wheel drive configuration. The Q4 Sportback e-tron is the 7th all-electric Audi, and apart from the SUVs and the coupe SUV shapes that we have spoken of so far, Audi is also working on station wagon and four-door coupe body styles out of various modular electric platforms that are being co-developed with Porsche.
Well, that was the Audi Q4 Sportback e-tron concept. If you have any questions regarding the e-tron models, you can write them in the comment section. Bert and Rohit will be joining us in a short while from now. Let's focus now on, since we are talking about electric mobility, let's talk about Ather Energy, the Bengaluru-based company. You're already familiar with it because they have just launched the 450X scooter in the market just before the lockdown. They're one of the few players right now in the market to have done so. We have with us the co-founder as well as the CEO, Tarun Mehta. Tarun, thank you so much for joining us on Overdrive today.
Hey, my pleasure.
Hi. So, Tarun, firstly, let me ask you, how has the lockdown been treating you? I believe Bengaluru has opened up to the idea of Unlock 1.0. How has it been so far?
Terrible. We opened up and looks like we are in competition with Delhi and Mumbai now. Unfortunate, but cases are rising, but cities still going as good as we can. For us at Aether, most of the office continues to be work from home. Our plants are open. Our experience center in Bangalore and Chennai now is open. But whoever absolutely however can avoid, we are recommending everybody work from home, and I think we'll be working from home till pretty much the end of the year.
Oh wow! Yeah, I guess that's a plan for most of the people. I know that the lockdown hasn't been easy for most of the people in the automotive sector, but just before the lockdown, in fact, you guys have launched the 450X. So there must have been plans about you must have projected the sales. Has that been impacted to a large extent right now?
So not sales yet, not directly. See, because 450X was scheduled to come out of the market only in July. But the impact is that all the planning activities till July, most of them have been hit because of the lockdowns. So production's been pushed out. Our vendor side tooling and testing has been pushed out. Our own certification with the government agency has been pushed out. End result, everything's basically offset by a straight 3 months. That's been the impact on deliveries and production. Internal development activities have largely progressed without much of an hiccup, but testing and launch has been delayed by 3 months.
All right, and you also, in terms of the product, you have put forth a subscription model, which is pretty interesting. So the buyer can go in and pay the amount for the scooter itself, and then the battery can be bought in a subscription model, and then the performance and the riding range differs based on that. How has that in particular been received by the consumers?
So it's a pretty new concept. It's not very common, and there are two main new things about it. First, we're separating the cost of the battery from the cost of the vehicle. And I very strongly believe that that's the future for all electric vehicles in the country, especially light electric vehicles like scooters and bikes. Once you remove the battery cost out of the vehicle cost, the cost immediately comes down to by 30-35%. In our case, for example, our most premium offering, Aether 450X, which is the quickest production scooter in India ever, comes down to the price of a Honda Activa 125cc, right? The minute you remove the battery cost. And remember, this is still a startup, right? This is still low volume production, right? So the minute you remove the battery cost out, upfront cost comes down dramatically. And what we are also doing is we are basically standing behind the battery guarantee as an OEM. So instead of saying that, listen, this is just financing, where you essentially just now pay the EMI on the battery packs in a different way, we are saying that, listen, you don't have to worry about battery life. If you stay on subscription, as OEMs, we are very confident that not for 3, 4, but this battery will last you many, many years. And hence, we are able to give you practically an unlimited guarantee as long as you're on subscription. So it's a very new concept, separating the battery as fuel from the cost of the vehicle. The other new thing that we've introduced with this, and I'll be honest, that's something that is still evolving. We're still learning with our consumers. We're doing a lot of research and understanding how people understand this better, what features work for them better. What we've done new is we not only separate the battery cost out, we've also given them virtual variants, right? What we said is that, listen, with an electric vehicle, if you just agree as a customer that, listen, I'm okay with a certain top speed, I'm okay with a certain acceleration, our battery range automatically shoots up. Okay, and since we separate the battery cost out, how we depreciate that cost suddenly extends. If you agree to use the vehicle in a lower setting, we can then appreciate the battery cost over an additional year or two. End result, we can actually give you different pricing. Right? If you agree to not use a super fast charging, if you agree to use just regular charging, battery life extends even further. So just like Netflix packs, where you can buy an HD pack or you can buy an SD pack, we came up with this similar-ish system where we said, listen, you can buy this has a variant called Plus, or this has a variant called X, but you don't need to make up your mind today. Buy the base vehicle, because the base vehicle is the same. What kind of battery performance you want, depending on that, you can choose to pay us. And at any point, you can switch up and down between variants. Right? After 6 months, you're like, no, I want to go to the higher mode. Just start paying us more, and that's it. Like
Right.
it's all mode. It's all online. You have a 4G SIM card. Within a second, you will just be onto the higher setting, and you're good to go. Right? We don't need to do anything physically to the vehicle to enable that. So it's a very interesting concept. I think we our realization is that we need to spend more time with the consumers, because this is very interesting for us, but I don't think we've been able to like sort of get consumers to understand this enough, right? And we are learning that using analogies like the one that I just told you, Netflix HDSD pack, kind of helps put this in perspective. Because if you tell them, listen, you can flip between variants, it's not natural. People are like, but how do I change a variant? Like, you will come and change the vehicle. Yeah, I'm like, no, I won't change the vehicle. So we're learning that.
All right. So, but you have been talking to the consumers to understand where the buyer interest lies, right? You're saying that they haven't really been able to grasp the idea of this subscription model just yet.
No, subscription model they understood. The battery wala piece, I think most of them have now understood. This switching between different modes, that's not easy. So just before COVID, I was on a little bit of a national tour. I went to Mumbai, I went to Pune, I went to Hyderabad, went to Chennai, and I started meeting consumers in like groups of 50, 100 people each. And I started doing these interactions. Our teams have been, we have an online community, fairly active. So we've been taking a lot of feedback there. We ran like some massive Q&A, multiple hour-long Q&As with our community, asking them, kitna samajh mein aaya? What did you hate in this? What did you absolutely love in this? So we've been running a lot of this. Obviously, COVID's made physical meetups impossible, but we'll resume again. But we've been, honestly, we are very lucky that despite being a fairly young brand, we've had a very, very engaged community. So we've been able to like sort of spawn up a lot of feedback from them pretty quickly.
All right. I'll just bring in Rohit Paradkar. He has a couple of questions for you as well. Rohit?
Hi, Tarun. Thank you so much for joining us on Overdrive. This is the first time I'm officially speaking to you using this platform. So, Tarun, quickly, let me ask you, you've used the word community a lot of times right now in your answers. So if I may ask, what is the community size? How many Ather scooters are out there on the road already?
So owners, I think, are somewhere in the range of maybe close to 3.5, 4K. The community is bigger. The community is, I think, probably closer to 8, 9K. There are a lot of people who are not owners, but are pre-order customers waiting for deliveries. A lot of enthusiasts who have already come onto the channel and are like waiting to, like they're there, they're super active, and at one day, maybe in other cities. So they're waiting for when we come to their cities and they'll start buying. I would say it's just under 10K, the community size.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask a question that's been haunting the entire EV space at the moment. So we have a lot of startups coming up. You are one of them, and it's happening the world over. It's not particularly in India, but it's happening the world over. Startups from various backgrounds are coming through in the space. That certainly adds a new perspective. You have a recent announcement from even mobility solutions provider like Ola wanting to join the bandwagon, jump on the bandwagon. They want to introduce an electric vehicle going forward as well, and as early as 2021. And then you have the traditional players coming in. You have Bajaj, TVS, who are now looking to introduce their serious offerings within the segment. So as a startup who has been able to withstand the test of time, how do you see now the market progressing? What do you think of these traditional threats now coming in, and how do you tackle them? What is the way forward?
First, I think it's great when the larger folks come in. That helps with awareness building like nobody's business. Bajaj announced Chetak, and it certainly had everybody in Pune Google up what's an electric scooter, and that popped up our name, right? So that really helps. I don't think we could have done marketing at the scale of what Bajaj did. So essentially, anybody who launches, like every single time, like every time a Bajaj or anybody talks about an electric scooter or any of the launches, our pre-order numbers just spike up that day, right? So it just helps with awareness building massively. What it means, however, for us, I think it now allows us to, and actually it now compels us to focus a little bit more, right? Honestly, 2 years back when we launched, this was in a completely empty field. Like building an electric scooter that made sense was like nobody's doing it. Like Ather 450 was the only product out there. If you wanted to buy an electric scooter, for the most part. I think so. So Ather 450 in some sense for us was a vehicle for all occasions, right? We were not, and you can look at our collateral. We were not focusing on a specific customer. We were not focusing on a specific angle. We had multiple stories, and it's okay, like because the job of in that phase for with the vehicle was to build awareness and get out in front of as many people as possible. Now that there are credible offerings coming out, very good electric products now starting to at least come out, talk about it. It allows us to get a little bit more crisper with what 450 stands for, right? What 450X stands for. What kind of a role performance plays in this story? What kind of a customer is more attracted by this product or this product? So our positioning is getting a little sharper, and I think that's going to be the way forward. As more competition comes in, the way we will differentiate is by differentiating, focusing on what we're different instead of being we are for everybody.
Right. In fact, what you're saying is right. With more serious players coming in, obviously there'll be better knowledge that will spread out throughout the community, throughout the market, and even from your perspective, supplying, sourcing, all of that becomes a little more easier once the market size increases as a whole. But does this also put a lot of pressure on you in terms of the number of touch points or the dealership service networks that you will have to set up, considering the big brands will already have a ready network where they can start penetrating with, and you will have to sort of match up to that because once the customer knowledge goes up and they start Googling for it, or once they start searching for things, yes, there will be the Ather offerings coming up. But if there is no place for them to go and touch and see the product and actually buy one, that certainly puts you under a lot of pressure. So what would you say about that?
I think it's okay. I think if so, sales has to keep up with production, right? At least stage. Once you kind of exhausted your market, then production has to then sales has to keep up with production. Today we are in a different place where production is trying to keep up with sales. So if you're not opening a city, if you don't have a touch point there, it's because you don't have enough production to actually satisfy that city, right? And honestly, at this point, it's not like we are fighting for the same customer in a city that we're not present in. If we're not present there, that's because we don't have the capacity. We haven't gotten the operational. So I wouldn't stress that we were not able to sell this customer in a state that we're not present in, because that was the strategy. And at such an early stage, honestly, I wouldn't worry that we are in Bangalore, 3 other brands are also now present in Bangalore. We're going to lose the customer. I think we have a differentiated enough product. People are willing to wait for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. In case of 450X, as much as 12 months to get the hands on the product. Honestly, the thing that keeps me up at night is to make sure that how quickly can we ramp up production, how quickly can we open up more cities. And my concern is not today. Today, my concern is not that, man, we are there, but we are fighting for the same customer with Bajaj or a TVS. I think most of us are in the fight to just produce more and get in front of more customers. Not that we are fighting for the same customer. How do we pull in this?
Okay. So I understand that it is essentially ramping up production and meeting the demand is what is your number one priority right now. But the most common question that we get anytime we talk about Ather via news or a review or even platforms like these, most customers want to know that it's been 7 years. We've seen scooters from you. You have perfected that game. It's something that has also created a very aspirational product. But what about a motorcycle? Are you also looking at that space, or are you happy with the scooter for now?
We got to focus, yeah, right. At this point, especially after COVID, I will accept we had a couple of interesting products coming up, but what we've chosen is that it is not good enough to just launch something and make a name for yourselves. I think you have to first spin this into a large enough business with enough presence on the ground. Until we get to at least something like 1 lakh unit annual sales, we've not really made this deliver to its promise. So we're going to focus on scooters for now. Something like motorbikes is still 7 years old.
Okay, great. I think those were all the questions that I had. Sohini, is there anything from our users that has come through?
In fact, I was just monitoring the comment section, and the most popular question, of course, is that when will you be looking at introducing a performance electric motorcycle? I think everybody is
already
interested in
answered
that.
that for us.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's the most common question we get every time we mention the word Ather.
It will take a few years, to be honest.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Tarun. This was a really interesting conversation with you, and all the best with this lockdown situation. Hope this ends for all of us pretty soon.
Okay, chaliye. Thank you. Nice being here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So moving on, we up next we have a very interesting story for our ADV viewers. It's the entry level ADV story that we have up next. Now KTM earlier. So sorry, just 1 second. Little distracted. So earlier this year, KTM granted our wish by launching the 390 Adventure in the industry. It's a motorcycle which is known for its do-it-all ability, and we decided to pit it against its most formidable rivals in the country. Here's that particular story. This just mind you, this is a shorter version of the story. The longer version will be played on the Overdrive show tomorrow. If you have any questions regarding any of these motorcycles, Rohit as well as Aditya will be joining us pretty soon. Take a look at this story.
आदित्य, तू मेरे को जल्दी सैटरडे को वेकअप किया, पूना लाया, all to answer a question that I've already answered. The KTM 390 Adventure is the motorcycle to buy in 2020.
Deख Tushar, I know how you work, but we at Overdrive are all about serious automobile journalism. So Tushar, you need to understand, to achieve something big, you have to start small. And that is what Hero has done with the X-Pulse 200. Now, this very motorcycle has given the riding enthusiast a ticket to enter the adventure segment without burning their pocket. Then we come to the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Now, this motorcycle started the entry-level adventure motorcycle segment in India. And while doing that, it also invited a totally new kind of customer base. And then we come to the GS 310. Now you know GS is the ultimate name in terms of adventure motorcycling. With 310, BMW has made an accessible adventure motorcycle without compromising on the traits. Now this one is manufactured in India for India and the world.
There's no other way to say this, boss. This bike has the complete package. It's got cornering ABS, it's got cornering traction control, it's got a color LCD screen. You can view navigation on it, you can control your music on the screen, you can connect it to your headset. It's got a quick shifter. और मतलब और क्या चाहिए तेरे को लाइफ में? Aditya, I don't know if you've noticed, but यहाँ पे road नहीं है. Something tells me again you're trying to do serious journalism.
Precisely. The wide handlebar of the 390 Adventure offered enough room to play around the trails. However, it should have been positioned higher for more confidence. Further, the tank design makes it difficult to grip the motorcycle while off-roading. The WPS suspension setup was doing its best in absorbing the impact over the rocks and also offered the plushest ride quality compared to the other over uneven roads and broken surfaces. Offering total control were the Biber disc brakes, which offer a strong bite, and the fact that one can alter between on-road and off-road ABS makes it more flexible. We believe the addition of spoke wheels could increase the confidence off-road as they are more flexible compared to the cast wheels and can sustain impact damage. On the Hero X-Pulse, the 21-inch wheels and the long travel suspension were helping it go places that none of the bikes went into. The setup also does a fine job while tackling potholes in the city. The brakes, however, do not offer as much feedback, and the fact that it does not come with switchable ABS makes it less convenient off-road. However, the X-Pulse 200 was right at the top for all of us as we couldn't get enough of this mountain goat. A motorcycle that's called Himalayan has to put out an impressive show on this terrain, and it rightly did to a great extent. The tall handlebar position ensured that a taller rider like me could stand easily by gripping on the fuel tank. Thanks to the long travel suspension and the steady torque at lower revs, we managed to take the Himalayan on the top of the trail in a slow and a steady manner. While the braking performance is definitely better than the X-Pulse, the weight of 199 kg makes it difficult to swiftly change lines while climbing on trails. During our test, we found the switchable ABS to be inconsistent as there were occasions when it refused to activate. What impressed us is the strong build quality of the Himalayan. Even after taking a bunch of falls, there wasn't any substantial damage. Considering the rich pedigree of the GS, all of us were keen to witness the 310's adventure on a trail like this. For starters, the 310 GS has a better ego for off-roading compared to the 390 Adventure. At the start of the trail, both the 310 GS and the 390 Adventure offer a similar performance with the weaker low-end grunt. Also, the GS is 17 kgs heavier than the 390 Adventure. But then we did manage to put the GS through tricky situations where we couldn't take the 390 Adventure. The comparatively longer travel suspension and higher ground clearance makes the GS a more capable off-roader. Similar to the KTM, wire spoke wheels could increase the confidence of taking the GS off-road.
Now that brings us to the final line. What do you think of these motorcycles?
Set your alarm clock for 1 o'clock tomorrow to watch this show on CNBC TV 18. You don't want to miss it. It's an in-depth review. This is just a very short version to give you a taste of what's there in store. Let me quickly bring in Aditya, Chatterjee and Rohit.
Hi, Aditya.
Aditya, looks like you had a lot of fun.
I actually did have a lot of fun.
Rohit?
Yeah, so much fun that some bikes got broken.
I don't know, the adventure just trickled down to my house. But yes, I had a lot of fun because the main idea behind the story was everyone wanted to know that, of course, the 390 Adventure is a performer, and a lot of people said yes, on paper it's one of the best that we've got. But then the idea is to compare it with the GS, the Himalayan, the Xpulse. Of course, the Xpulse was the entry where a lot of people had their questions that it's an entry level motorcycle, so entry level at a lower displacement at a more affordable price than the Himalayan. But the idea was to find out if it is that motorcycle that answers all your questions when it comes to adventure motorcycling. I mean, is it the motorcycle that you can happily settle with? So that was the main idea. And then, of course, we bought the Himalayan because Himalayan is one of the most popular motorcycles out there. And, people, whenever they plan their Ladakh trips or any trip, it's just the Himalayan that comes to their mind. So obviously the Himalayan had to be there. And yes, the GS, because it's called the GS. So yeah, I had a lot of fun.
I'm sure Rohit is very upset.
I think everyone. I totally am. And I want all our viewers to take this story with a pinch of salt because Aditya's gone on talking about this being serious journalism. But believe me, these guys have only had fun and a lot of fun. There was no serious journalism involved. These guys had a gala of a time on all the 4 motorcycles. But I think that's exactly what these motorcycles are meant to be. They're meant to introduce people to a new form of motorcycling, adventure touring, off-roading, and that's exactly what these bikes do very well. So if you are choosing either one of them, they'll all do the same thing and yet very differently. And that's exactly what the story aims to find out. And I am kicking myself in the backside for having missed an opportunity to write this. This came very close after the big ADV story that we did, and the 390 Adventure is something that we are waiting to test out against the rest. And unfortunately, I missed that story. But yeah, I mean, you have already seen the visuals. All these guys have had a lot of fun, and it's something worth waiting for and watching because it is a very detailed story.
Let me just remind our viewers that they can send in the questions right now. Aditya and Rohit are very familiar with 4 of these motorcycles. So one question that we have got already is Himanshu wants to know why are you showing the BS4 Xpulse right now? It's
Let's continue.
A valid question.
So Himanshu, the thing is, when we shot the story, it was only the BS4 Xpulse and the BS4 G10, the G310 GS that were available. And so this was around March, but we could not get the story in time then because of the lockdown and the whole COVID situation. So now, since we are resuming work, we've got it now. That's the only reason why we have the BS4 iterations of the Xpulse and the GS.
In fact, I'm going to add to that, Himanshu, if we were supposed to shoot this even today, I'm very doubtful if the manufacturers could have given us access to the BS6 motorcycles because the BS6 310 is still not here. It's still on the horizon. It will take a while. And the BS6 Xpulse, well, it's hit a few dealerships as of now, but the media test bikes are still not with any of the media houses. So unfortunately, even today, we don't have it. But at the same time, let me remind you that there's not a very big change that you can expect in terms of the riding dynamics of either of these two motorcycles. Yes, there'll be a little bit of tuning difference. There'll be a little bit of difference maybe on the overall fuel economy and the range that you will get out of it. On the G310GS, there's a bit of a equipment change that we're expecting, like new LED headlamps and a digital dashboard and all those things. But in terms of what the motorcycle is going to give you as someone who is new to adventure motorcycling or to off-roading, or even someone who already has a big motorcycle, maybe like Aditya, who has a Tiger and now wants a smaller vehicle to just enjoy the trails on. The things are not going to change a lot. The dynamics of these motorcycles or the characters of these motorcycles are not going to change a lot between BS4 and BS6. So even if it's a BS4 that has been used here, everything that we say about the BS4 in this review still holds true even for the BS6 variants.
Also, if I can add to that, I'm sure you all have seen the visuals of the story. The idea was not to find out the best off-roader out there and a motorcycle that will go extreme off-road terrains. So the idea was to find a motorcycle that will settle all your queries and answer those questions of can I live with that motorcycle every day? Can I use it to commute to office, to commute to work, and is it a part of your daily chores, and also do touring and then off-roading? So the idea was not to find a hardcore off-road motorcycle per se. And even when you see the visuals, we have not really gone ahead and pushed it to the extreme, because yes, off-road plays a big role, but again, trails and hardcore off-road are two different things. So what we have done is we have made these motorcycles. We've ridden these motorcycles in an ambience where you'll find a mix of all terrains. So yeah, that is that.
Rohit has just joined in and he's asking us which motorcycles are we talking about. Rohit, you just missed a very cool story that we played for you, a 5-minute story, which will be on the Overdrive show tomorrow, CNBC 1 p.m. We are talking about the KTM 390 Adventure, the BMW G310GS, the Hero X Pulse 200, and the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Now, Eddie has a very interesting question and very apt as well. Which of them would be best if we have more city running and even good road grip and confidence in the monsoon?
Right. Rohit, should I take that?
You could, yes, of course.
All right. So which of them would be the best? See, when we started this test, okay, we thought the answer is known. We thought because the 390 Adventure was too good because the equipment and the whole KTM DNA and all of that. But interestingly, the Himalayan actually came across as a very, very strong offering, which which answered a lot of questions. Like the things that you asked, which are with the Himalayan. Okay, I'll directly go to the Himalayan. If I compare the Himalayan to the X Pulse, now X Pulse is a very nice, capable off-roader, and something that you will see in the whole review. That in case you want to take off-roading in a very serious way, it is the X Pulse 200. No doubts about it. Take it. It's a mountain goat. You drop it. Nothing happens to that. Okay. But the problem is, it has a smaller displacement engine, and the motorcycle is a smaller, more compact motorcycle. So, which is good when you take it off-road. But a motorcycle to live with like that, to do commutes and all of that, is a difficult thing. And that is where the Himalayan steps in, because everything about the Himalaya, it's that functional design, all right, that riding posture, the stance, the capability of just going anywhere, not just a trail, go off-road, and the pillion comfort, the ride comfort. Now, this is something that I need to really emphasize on. The Himalayan was the most comfortable of the lot. So, this discussion Rohit and I had, that if Rohit and we had the Himalayan and the 390 Adventure, okay, 390 Adventure, and if we set up from Bombay to Goa, now obviously with that more power and with all the equipment, and the 390 Adventure will obviously be the first to reach Goa, and obviously me on the Himalayan, because the Himalayan and my weight are on the higher side, will take a lot more time. But then once I reach Goa, or once you reach that place, you still have energy. That's the problem that I found with the KTM seat, and it's not just me, all the other members, all right. So, it's the comfort of the seat really played a big role. So for me, it is the Himalayan.
All right.
Well,
Rohit?
I think Aditya got very excited and he has sort of answered a different question in this entire thing. So yes, if you're doing those long distance 1,000 kilometer kind of rides, it is the Himalayan. Both of us agree on that. But the question that is being flashed on the screen, if I had to answer that, it has to be the 390 Adventure because it just comes with that added layer of safety, which is the electronics. You get the traction control, you get a very nicely tuned ABS. And then it's at the end of the day a chassis and the engine that's borrowed from the 390 Duke, and that is why it has excellent road manners as well. So even if you are into corner carving, sport touring, the 390 Adventure is literally the do-it-all for you. But if it's long distance purely that you're looking at, then yes, it is the Himalayan for me as well. It was surprisingly comfortable, and in its new BS6 Avatar, the engine is also very refined compared to what it was earlier. The vibrations have reduced by a fair margin, and cruising at 100, is very comfortable on that motorcycle. So yeah, that's what I would go with for long distance. But for your city running and good road grip and good confidence in monsoons, I think the 390 Adventure would be a lot more fun.
With the monsoon bit, yes, I agree. In terms of safety, yes, it is the 390 Adventure, of course.
All right. In fact, the questions are related to long rides itself because Satya wants to know that basically is the 390 comfortable for doing 1,000 kilometers a day? So long.
Yes, I think the 390 is certainly comfortable for doing 1,000 kilometers a day as well, especially if you're comparing it to the 390 Duke. The seat, both for the rider as well as the pillion, it's a lot more comfortable than what you would get on the Duke. But if you were to compare it to the other motorcycles, like I said, 1,000 kilometers is still a fair margin. Not everyone will take up to it, but if you are into that kind of distances, the Himalayan is still the better operator for me.
Same for me. The same follows for me. It's the same for me.
All right. So I think those are the questions that we have as of now regarding this motorcycle story. I don't want to take too many questions because tomorrow the entire story is going to be up and we don't want to give away too much of your opinions right now. All right. So Aditya, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we shall see you on TV tomorrow. On that note, let's just bring Bert onto the show. Hi, Bert. But you're muted. Your mic.
Sorry. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me
Good
loud
evening,
and clear.
Bert.
Good evening, Rohit. Good evening, Sohini.
Loud and clear.
Perfect.
But it's very interesting. You have different settings every time we meet you.
And these days with his lockdown hairdo, I'm also seeing him in different caps every time. I hear you have a big collection of caps, Bert.
On my cap collection, so I'm going to go through that very, very soon. Yeah.
I think we should do an entire segment on Bert's cap collection.
Bert said he refuses to have a haircut till next year.
Absolutely. I'm competing with your lot, Tuhin.
Lovely. Okay, so we have up next. Actually, let's take a couple of questions. We had a lot of questions coming in. We'll start. We'll just quickly start off right at the top. Anoy had asked us a question. He's planning to buy a compact SUV in diesel. He's looking for a performance-oriented package. His budget is 14 to 16 lakhs, and he shortlisted the XUV 300, the Seltos. Which one is a better buy?
No, my bad. Actually, my reply to you was about the 500, which is far more spacious. The XUV 300 isn't as spacious. The Seltos diesel gets you better packaging, but the cabin overall in the XUV 300 also is not too bad. It's pretty roomy. It feels airy, comfortable, spacious in that sense. However, the Seltos is a much nicer, much better car to drive overall, much more refined, better dynamics, better performance as well. And the set of features that you get on the Seltos, there's a lot more tactility to it. It feels far more contemporary in that sense. While the XUV 300 isn't bad at all, it definitely gets outshined by the Seltos. Also, keep in mind, both of these two SUVs are in different segments. The XUV 300 doesn't fall in the same segment as the Seltos. The Seltos is a little more premium, it's a little larger, a little better than where the XUV is, also because of the space that it occupies. The XUV 300, the 300 also, not too bad, though I would recommend the Seltos.
Okay. We were talking about Audi, but Rudra wants to know, when will the Q2 launch and what will its price be?
Well, no immediate plans, Sohini, for the Q2. I mean, there's been a long list of vehicles that Audi wants to introduce in India, and the Q2 was definitely something. One of them. Keep in mind, I think it was a couple of years ago, or slightly longer, when we'd actually driven the Q2. When I'd driven the Q2 in Europe, and very impressive vehicle, I must say. I think it's a brilliant product for the Indian market. If Audi can bring that down here, it would make a lot of sense. I think there should be a lot of takers for that. Looks good, feels good to drive, is the right size. The only challenge is the pricing, and that is something that Audi is going to be working on and trying to figure out if that actually makes sense, or if they can offer it at a very competitive price in India. Having said that, something like the Q2 is only expected in 2021. Nothing on that this year.
All right. Actually, let's go back a little to the Q4 Sportback e-tron also that was showcased, the concept version. What is your take on that? In fact, the fact that they want to come up with like 20 models by 2025, that doesn't give them much time, right? We're already in 2020.
Well, think of it in this manner. They probably already have all of it in the pipeline, and everything must be ready. And it's just a matter of phasing out and giving each one its own due space and time. So those 25 models will already be ready and already there, standing somewhere in the parking lot in Audi's factory at Ingolstadt, saying, "Okay, fine, my turn will come pretty soon." So the Q4 Sportback e-tron, though, I mean, stunning vehicle, fantastic to look at. I like the design theme behind it. It's one of those manufacturers that are still, at least on the e-tron for that matter, Audi's not gone with that huge grille that we've now seen. We've seen it recently on the A8. We've seen Mercedes-Benz, we've seen BMW. All of these Germans coming out with these massive grills, these absolutely in your face, over the top grills. And I'm glad that the e-tron Sportback hasn't gone down that way. But more than that, I think it's a very practical package. Also because that 85 kilowatt hour battery, which gives you the kind of range that you would want for everyday usage, and for probably longer for that matter as well. But I'm just looking out for what the production version will be like. I hope there are no changes in the design when it comes out, gets into production.
All right. Given that we're still waiting for our electric Audi in India, this will take a while to get to India, right? The Q4 Sportback.
It will. It's going to be some time away. Most of these manufacturers, especially the Germans, are faced with infrastructure challenges, because you do not want to offer a product of that sort and then not have the infrastructure to support those products. So I think it's essential that manufacturers like Audi, Mercedes, BMW have a plan in place where charging stations are part of that entire package that they would offer. But having said that, let's keep in mind one of the manufacturers, one of the Germans coming into the market very soon, and like EV is is Mercedes-Benz. They've got the EQC coming up shortly, and we've got announcements due very soon. So, well, just keep your fingers crossed that everything on the EV plan with the Germans goes, sails out smoothly, because then, yeah, we will see a lot more electrics in the market.
I think it's just a matter of taking that first step for each and every one of these Germans. Once that first step is taken, it will address and resolve, hopefully, most of the infrastructural challenges. And once that happens, then it's just a regular business as usual, let's put it that way, for the other electric vehicles to follow.
It's a catch-22 situation, Rohit. I mean, chicken and egg, actually, more to be more precise. I mean, should you wait for the infrastructure to come in first, or should you start offering the products and then hope that the infrastructure catches up? But here's the challenge. In the case of all of these automotive manufacturers, if you may have products ready, but what happens if there is nobody in the infrastructure space who's offering you support for that matter? What happens then? How do owners, get value out of their product? So it's a tricky situation to be in. I understand the kind of challenges most of these manufacturers are facing today. But let's hope, fingers crossed, there is a lot of movement where infrastructure also is concerned. Lockdown would have delayed plans, but I think we should see some movement over here very soon.
All right. We'll just step in to take some more questions. Sachin, has a budget of 8 to 8.5 lakh rupees, Hyundai i10, Neo Sports AMT, or the Swiss or the Maruti Suzuki Swift AMT? What would you suggest?
I'm not.
Right. In fact, I just shared the link to the story that we have already posted on Overdrive. We have done a very detailed review of both the vehicles. Well, if I was buying, I would personally go with the Swift. I like the slightly sportier styling of it and the slightly sportier handling of the Swift, and that's what I would go with. But you should definitely take a look at the link that I've shared. It is a very detailed review, and it talks about the AMT is exactly what you asked for. So I would strongly suggest that you go through the entire review because we've addressed different aspects of the review or different aspects of both the vehicles, the design, the performance of the AMT in particular. We've also given you all the test figures, and that would help you make a more informed buying decision instead of me just telling you, okay, this is better than the other. There's an entire review waiting for you. So definitely read it. I've already put the link in the comment section.
All right. Here's a question on motorcycles as well. The CBR 300R has been removed from Honda website. Is it discontinued or will it relaunch in a BS6, guys? Saurabh is
Right,
asking.
Saurabh. So I would not just say this to you, but for everyone who's watching right now, do not take the Honda India's website as an idea of what is happening at Honda because they are literally launching a new product every week. Every week in this new section, we have a new BS6 Honda two-wheeler that has been launched into the market, and that's exactly what's going to happen to the CVE 300R as well. They have had a very good success with the motorcycle despite its stall pricing, and they are going to capitalize further on that. And by that, I mean not just a BS6 CV300R, but there's also a 500 that is expected. Let that be a small scoop for you. There is a new 500cc parallel twin platform that is being planned. This is an evolution of the current parallel twin 500cc platform that is being sold by Honda in the global markets. But this is an evolution of that. This is something that Honda is hoping to manufacture and export out of India. So a CV500 is also on the cards. But yes, the CB300 in its BS6 avatar should be announced very soon.
But Just Karan wants to know sub 4-meter SUV petrol, which one is better, the Nexon or the Venue?
Well, Justin, I'd suggest you actually wait for a little while longer because in a couple of months, sometime around September, is when Kia is going to be coming out with the Sonnet as well. That's the other compact sub 4-meter SUV, and it's going to lead to a little more confusion, I know, for you. At this point in time, which is better, the Nexon or the Venue? I place my bets on the Venue, but I'm still waiting to see what the Sonnet is like and what it is able to deliver. We've so far just seen it at the Auto Expo, and after that, there's been nothing much coming in from Kia on that front. So hold on, you've got just a couple of months more, and there will be a lot more clarity on what is the best in.
All right. Himanshu wants to know how's the new 2020 BS6 Skoda Kodiaq 2-liter TSI engine?
Well, most of the new TSI engines are pretty impressive, and this goes. I mean, TSI is being used. The turbocharged petrol engines are being used across the entire Volkswagen Group, the Skoda India Volkswagen Group range. They're all of them migrating towards petrols alone, and diesel isn't, going to be a plan in the future portfolio for that matter. So what we're seeing is some very, very strong engines, some very good engines, especially the 2-liter. It's a very impressive engine. It's got the performance and the character to match the kind of product that the Kodiaq is. Also, keep in mind the Kodiaq. I mean, it is definitely upmarket. Feels premium. Has got better fit, finish, quality than some of the other products or comparable products in that segment, including. I think yes, it's impressive. It fits what the Kodiaq is supposed to do. It's a great package overall.
All right. Sarad Sekhar is really upset. He wants to know why Yamaha is still not announcing the price of the BS6 FZ25s and both the motorcycles.
Well, I think it's just a matter of time till that happens. Yamaha has traditionally been a little slower to respond to the changes in the market, and that is seen here as well. But those price announcements should come in very soon. But if you are interested in those motorcycles, it won't harm to quickly give the dealer a call. They might have a fair idea of what the pricing is going to be. We expect the pricing to be slightly on the higher side. That's been the trend across the segments, and that could also happen with the Yamaha FZs. But do give your dealer a call, and they should be able to give you a better idea on when the BS6 models are expected. And yeah, they are coming very soon.
We have a lot of questions coming in regarding the Honda City and the Verna, but these are variants, the CVT and the IVT and the Turbo DCT.
Right. So I've driven both the cars, and I would personally, if you are driving it in the city, if you are not an enthusiast per se, if you are just looking to buy a comfortable executive sedan to go from point A to point B, and you want the convenience of an automatic, the CVT right now is excellent. What Honda's managed with the CVT with the new petrol engine is beautiful. Even the fuel economy is really good, whether you're driving in the city or out on the highway. And we recently posted a comparison between the petrol variants of the Verna and the Honda City, and the new Honda City certainly comes out on top. So, yeah, that's your answer. I mean, I would go with the Honda City CVT. I like the gearbox, and that is what I would choose.
Okay, one last question before we dive into the news. Sushi Pai, interesting name. He wants to know which is ideally better, the Creta SX IVT or the Seltos HTX IVT for more of the city driving and real value for money between the two.
Well, I actually wouldn't say which one is the better of the two. It will actually boil down to who gets you, which of these dealers is able to give you a better deal. Because at the end of the day, they're essentially the same vehicle with very, very similar trim levels inside. It's a matter of whose design sense do you feel more comfortable with, which is more appealing to you. Otherwise, they're one in the same vehicle with the same set of features, the same powertrains, and it'll all boil down to which of the dealers is able to get you a better rate and a better price on them. So that is where your value for money will come from, whether it's the Creta, IVT, or the Seltos IVT for that matter, the SX or the HTX, whichever variant.
All right. So earlier this week, we'll just move on to the news section. Earlier this week, Mercedes has just showcased the MBUX system. Now, they have been showcasing bits and pieces of the S-Class. I believe it will be launched sometime later this year, right? That's still in the pipeline?
It will be revealed globally in September, but India launch is still some time away. Of course, the right-hand drive version will come much later. So I think maybe by mid or the second half of 2021 is what we are expecting for the new S-Class for the Indian market. But yeah, September is the global reveal. That is when we'll have all the details on what new technology it brings to the table, because every time there's a S-Class, the whole world has to sit up and take notice, because it just pushes the envelope further with everything, right? I mean, even in the new S-Class, just the infotainment system that has been shown right now, 320 gigabytes of SSD hard drive space. That's more hard drive space than my top of the line MacBook. So there you have it. I mean, the cars are, just becoming pieces of gadget and software and all of that. All these car makers are soon going to turn into software companies and hardware companies, and the S-Class is just one more example of that fact.
So that's
we'll just take a look.
It's all about data crunching and what you can learn from that. And this is what it's going to be. Even that kind of hard drive with that space, whatever, it'll all you put in all of your preferences into that space, and it enables, or rather teaches Mercedes-Benz what your preferences are, what your styles are, what do you like, what do you dislike, and it gives you a sense. It gives them a sense of what to kind of modulate for the future. What could your choices be? How can we make our cars better? These are the kind of things that all these data points are teaching them. Anyway, on this subject with Mercedes-Benz, in fact, I've just received a few minutes ago another bit of news from them itself, which is that they're coming back fairly strongly in 2020 with the first half, for that matter. They've just delivered 2,948 units to the first half, and in this, the GLS, which they call the S-Class of SUVs, has contributed almost 22% to that growth. So that is just huge. That sales penetration is just huge. Again, the C-Class, the E-Class, the GLC continue to remain their volume drivers, but 22% from the GLS is just incredible. That's a phenomenal number. And I think, things are slowly recovering. There are comments that have come in from other manufacturers as well, both in the mass commuter segment, as well as in the luxury and the premium segments. Who's saying that they're catching on slowly but steadily. There is some amount of growth coming in. I think by the end of the year we will definitely see a lot of recovery, and hopefully a better trajectory than what we expected. So fingers crossed, people are definitely going out and buying cars. I think everybody's concerned about having personal mobility, because no one wants to get into public services and utilize taxis or the trains or the buses. It's just the fear of catching the virus. That's something that they don't want. So yes, car sales are probably going to go, probably going to expand in the next few months.
If you have the luxury of the S-Class with this gadget, we'll just take a look at that video. I'm sure personal mobility will be priority on everyone's list. So these are the visuals of they have just launched the BS6 version of the recently facelifted Discovery Sport and the Range Rover Evoque. The Discovery Sport is priced starting from 59.99 lakh rupees, and the Range Rover Evoque costs 57.99 lakh rupees ex-showroom. These versions sit above the diesel-powered variants in the lineup, and a new petrol version has now been added to the lineup. That's a 2-liter 4-cylinder Ingenium turbo petrol that puts out 250 PS and 365 Newton meters of torque. It also comes with a mild hybrid system. Up next, we also have news about Honda cars. They have just launched the BS6 diesel variant of the Civic this week, starting at 20.74 lakh rupees. So 1.6-liter diesel. Now the BS6 compliant version has the same power and torque figures as before, 120 PS and 300 Newton meters, while fuel efficiency has dropped to 23.9 kilometers to the liter from the BS4 engine, which was 26.8 kilometers to the liter. The diesel Civic is only available with a 6-speed manual transmission, and like a petrol, will be available with 6 airbags as standard. And finally, in terms of news in four-wheelers, Renault India has launched the Kwid RXL 1 liter at 4.16 lakh rupees, and the AMT variant at 4.48 lakh rupees. The AMT variant, Renault says, is the most affordable AMT in the country today. There are some interesting buying offers as well, like the buy now, pay later scheme. Check that out, and more on Renault India's website. Now, we do have some interesting news in terms of two-wheelers as well. Rohit, would you like to go ahead with that?
Certainly, I think the first news comes from Honda. Again, one more BS6 variant this week. This is the X Blade this time. Like I said, every week they're launching a new BS6 variant, and that's essentially what's going to happen to their entire lineup. So yeah, that bike is here. It's at a price of 1.05 lakh ex showroom. It's available as before in a single disc or a dual disc variant. And the dual disc pricing is not revealed yet, and that should happen very soon. The fuel economy has reduced a little bit, and that's something that we've seen as a trend on most BS6 models. And the bike is available in 4 color options. As always, it still looks quite stunning for its price and for the segment that it operates in. Draws a lot of design inspiration from some of the higher models from Honda's lineup. So with Honda out of the way, there is some good news for Royal Enfield fans, especially fans of the Interceptor 650, including Bert. That bike has become the highest selling motorcycle in the UK now, and it isn't hard to see why. It's been receiving rave reviews from the media, from the owners, from the community, and it's just what the Brits probably wanted. Inexpensive British twin that handles well, that performs well, that looks good, and that's exactly what the Interceptor is. It's become the highest selling motorcycle in UK. And moving on back to the BS6 variants, we have Benelli, who's brought back the Imperial F400 in a BS6 avatar now. Still competing against the Royal Enfields. The Imperial F400, if you have been waiting for a BS6, a cleaner alternative, here it is. It's launched at the next showroom price of 1.99 lakh rupees. We expect to ride this motorcycle soon. We've been in touch with Benelli for the same, and if you're able to get our hands on it, we'll tell you if the tuning differences have made any difference to the numbers, to the performance figures, and all of that. And finally, to end the topic of two-wheelers, We've also ridden the Dominar 250 earlier this week. Now, this motorcycle was launched a little while back. This review is something that a lot of you have been waiting for, but because of the COVID situation, we were not able to ride it earlier. Finally, we have done so, and the review is embargoed till Sunday. But Sunday, 5 p.m. is when the review goes live. So do stay tuned to the Overdrive channels, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We'll have the video review go up on all those platforms, and there'll be the text review on overdrive.in. So Sunday, 5 p.m. is when that review goes up.
All right, we'll get back to our questions because I think our viewers are getting very agitated. Sahil, we would like you to stay tuned. We will be answering your question as well.
Stay
His
tuned and
question
stay
is-
subscribed. Don't go anywhere. We are going to answer that question right away. I've been reading that question for some time now.
He's
Well,
asked
Sahil,
8 times in 8 different ways, and he deserves an answer.
and now he's threatened to hit the unsubscribe button. So let's not do that, Sahil. We want you to stay with Overdrive. If you were to compare the current generation Honda City, there's nothing to complain about with that vehicle. In fact, it's so good and still so popular in the market that Honda's decided to retain that vehicle and sit alongside the fifth generation City that's been launched in the market. But we have done this comparison in the past. We have compared the entire class. And yes, the Honda City is a very good product. But right now, with the new packaging, with the new facelift that the Verna's come out in, between the old City and the new Verna, I would pick the Verna, and that is what I would recommend to you as well.
But in fact, Pawan has a very interesting question, which most of our viewers would like to know. Does the BS6 vehicle need the same fuel as BS4 vehicles?
It does not need the same fuel. There is a whole. It's completely new fuel that's being supplied to all of the petrol pumps. So there's specific BS6 fuel, but your BS4 car can run on that BS6 fuel. So you don't. It's not the same fuel as BS4. This is upgraded fuel. It's better fuel quality than what you had before. I do hope all petrol pumps around the country are offering this the BS6 fuel for that matter, even in some of the remotest regions of India. And apparently, most of the fuel companies have said that almost every petrol pump in the country is today offering BS6 fuel, so it shouldn't be an issue any longer. But let's just wait for some time longer. Keep in mind, as soon as BS6 fuel was available, and of course with the BS6 cars, we've gone into lockdown, so we don't know what the state of affairs is in this regard. But we will have some amount of information for you in a few weeks to come.
All right. Rudra wants to know, what is the alternative to the Jeep Compass?
Well, there are several alternatives to Jeep Compass. You've got the Seltos, you've got the Creta. You will have several more coming out in the future. You've got the Skodas and the Volkswagens also coming in with the T-Roc and the Tiguan, the T-Roc, and of course there's the Kodiaq as well. So there's a lot of alternatives to the Jeep Compass. However, if you're looking for something specific, if you're looking for off-road abilities, again, keep in mind the Jeep Compass is 4x4. The Trailhawk is not the best in that segment. No, I would say actually it is probably the only one in that segment that offers you that kind of 4x4 ability. But if you wanted 4x4, there are other vehicles to look in for. The Fortuner, the Endeavour are there as well. Of course, a lot more expensive. But otherwise, yes, there are alternatives to the Jeep Compass.
Mayur wants to know, what is the reason behind Harrier not picking up in the market?
Well, I really wouldn't be able to pinpoint why has the Harrier not done well in the market overall. Keep in mind, this is a fairly large vehicle, something that Tata Motors did an excellent job with in terms of design, style, packaging overall. But I still believe there are a few elements that it's lacking in where engineering is concerned. Overall, it is a reasonably okay car to drive. I'm not going to put give it very high marks where drivability or performance is concerned. But as a package for a family, for someone who's looking for slightly more upmarket, furnishings from Tata Motors for that matter, it did, tick all those boxes. But I do believe that a lot of consumers are still not willing to put their faith in a Tata Motors product because of reliability and longevity. And that could be one of the deterrents why Tata Motors has not done extremely well with the Harrier. Another challenge also is the price factor. For a lot of consumers in India who are looking at products from Tata Motors, or even for that matter Mahindra, price becomes a sticky point, essentially, since a lot of people are used to these manufacturers making more affordable products in the affordable segments. and offering a more premium product doesn't really go down well with these consumers. So they prefer buying more European or Japanese brands in the premium segments, and have utilize have you sort of kind of retained the Indian brands for more affordable smaller cars. And I think that needs to change. That mindset also needs to change. Indian manufacturers are making better cars in the premium segments, and it's just a matter of time before we see them comparable to anybody else, whether it's European products or Japanese for that matter, in every respect, fit and finish, design, features. We are already there, in fact, where features are concerned. I think most of the Indian manufacturers offer features, if not on par with the European counterparts, then at least more than what they have to offer for that matter. So I think it's just a matter of time before they're able to bridge that gap and offer products that are on par.
All right. Rohit, this question is for you. The MT15 or the Dominar 250, but it is under 1.70 lakh rupees.
Well, if you had to make your choice based on the looks of the motorcycle, I personally like the MT15 a little bit better. I like the Street Fighter styling on it, but if you're purely talking about performance, I would go with the Dominar 250.
All right. Actually, Sahil has sent us many questions. I'm noticing now after threatening to leave. He said, "How to be an auto journalist for a beginner? How to get a car for review from a company?"
Well, Sal, we're not going to answer that for you just now. How to be an auto journalist for beginners? You definitely need to write. You do it either. And this is a challenge a lot of bloggers and influencers are facing these days. Is if you take my case for instance, I mean, I had a mentor. I had several mentors who showed me the ropes, who took me through held my hand through a lot of my initial steps, showed me what was right and wrong, the way to write, communicate. Being a journalist is not about driving cars, Sahil. Let's be very very clear about that. Being a journalist, automotive journalist for that matter, is not just about driving cars. Anyone can be a good driver. This job, like I tell a lot of people, is about communication. And if you're not able to communicate yourself well enough, well, you've lost the battle already. So I think more than how to get a car for review, I think you need to focus on how well can I write initially, or at least talk about a particular product before I can actually start going around, or rather looking for cars from manufacturers to review them.
All right. Here we have a question from Vikas Soni. Should he wait for the new gen XUV 500? I'll get back to that. That's our next question. Omkar's question is our next one. So Vikas wants to know, should he wait for the new generation XUV 500?
Well, because there are lots of other alternatives to the XUV 500 in the market presently. You've got the Creta, the new Creta, the new Seltos. You've got the MG Hector. The Hector Plus is going to come out very soon. So there are lots of, especially the 7-seat option, the 6-seat option rather. So you've got choices over there. I'm not sure how far away is the XUV 500, the next generation. So as soon as Mahindra, is ready to make those announcements, we will have some information for you. But at this point in time, there really isn't much coming up from them on that front.
All right. And finally, we have Omkar's question. Suggest a petrol automatic SUV in the range of 30 to 40 lakh rupees. Looking for niche products for his uncle who is 65 years old. So he wants to know regarding the Jeep Compass versus the Karoq versus the X1 and the XC40.
Well, it's a good choice of vehicles, but if you're looking for something that your uncle would like to drive, and as his last car, something that will serve him well over time, I would suggest look for the Toyota Fortuner for that matter. I mean, that kind of car can really go a long way without losing any value, and of course holding on to all of its characteristics for a very long time. So that's one good choice that I would add into this entire lot. Otherwise, on the other front, I would say the XC40. I mean, he may be 65, but age is just a number. And the XC40 is a pretty cool car to have. Looks good, great set of features, great engines, great performance. Overall, it's an absolutely smashing car to own. At that age, like I said, let's be a little cool about it. The XC40 would fit his bill ideally.
All right. We'll just take one more question. Ryan or Rion, he wants to know. Rion wants to know what is Honda doing about their CBR 250? Will the CBR 250 RR, the Indonesian version, launch in India?
No, the CBR 250 RR is not coming to India. Neither is its Kawasaki competitor. Those are track-focused motorcycles, and Honda has absolutely no intent of bringing them to the Indian market. As for the CBR 250 RR, sorry, the CBR 250R, I'm not very sure whether they're going to make the BS6 transition on it or not, because during the end of its life cycle, the product wasn't very successful in India. The market preferences, especially in the touring category, had started moving towards adventure motorcycles and touring motorcycles more than a fed sport tourer like the CBR 250 was. So I'm not sure if that's going to make the BS6 transition or not. That's one question that even I'm eagerly waiting to be answered by Honda India. So yeah, fingers crossed. Let's hope that the product makes a comeback at least in a CBR 300 avatar. But as of now, there's no news on it.
All right, I think that's about all the questions that we could take for today. But before we head out, we have some very exciting video. But if you all would like to talk about it, though, the Lamborghini, would you call it the Sian or the Sian?
I'm calling it the Sian Roadster.
Sian.
And well,
Yeah, Sian is a station in Mumbai, so I think Sian sounds cooler
exactly.
for an Italian supercar. And I think it looks cool as well, and technologically it's quite advanced. It opens up a new dimension in terms of what hybrid technology could mean to the supercar world in the future. And I'm very sure Lamborghini is going to capitalize on that, and so will some of its competitors. And I mean, you always know every time Lamborghini builds a special edition or a one-off or a limited edition, you know that there's going to be a drop-top version or a convertible or a roadster that's going to come out, and they're going to capitalize more on that. And that's exactly what's happened with the Sian Roadster as well.
That's always been the philosophy. They've always wanted to be, they wanted to stay far away from the crowd, even if, it's in the very niche space of the supercar market for that matter, so the super sport market for that matter. They've always tried to be a very, very different manufacturer in there. And I think that super capacitor that they've got on the hybrid, that's something entirely new and definitely a way forward for them, at least. So I think that should be there should be some interesting developments from Lamborghini. Maybe, who knows? I mean, would the new R8 also have that?
It could. It certainly could.
Let's get on with that.
Yeah, we'll leave our viewers with the visual of the Lamborghini Sian Roadster. But before that, let me just remind you once again, like Rohit said earlier, the Bajaj Dominar 250 review will be up on Sunday. So keep a track of our posts on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We'll let you know about that. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll see you next week as well.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care, everyone.